Good afternoon. I'm Amy Reamer, the Public Relations Manager for Clarion UX Food Shows, which produces the International Restaurant and Food Service Show, taking place in March in New York, the Western Food Service and Hospitality Expo taking place in August in Los Angeles, and the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show taking place in September in Orlando. All of these events are co-located with Coffee Fest and the new Healthy Food Expo. And we also produce the NGA show for independent grocers, which will take place in February in San Diego. We invite you to visit foodandbevshows.com for more information on all of our upcoming events. We appreciate you joining us today for our webinar, How to Hit Your Target Food Cost Every Week, presented by David Scott Peters, restaurant expert and founder of therestaurantexpert.com. Over the next hour, David will provide an insight into the full 3-hour workshop, Take Back Your Budget, The Key to Profitability, which he will be presenting on March 4th at the International Restaurant and Food Service Show of New York. At the end of the presentation, David will provide you with additional information on a free download and how to register. A few housekeeping notes before David begins. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There will be time for question and answers at the end of the session. This webinar, as well as all of our others in this series, will be made available on our website in the coming weeks. Now, let me turn the program over to David Scott Peters.
Thank you, Amy. Greatly appreciate it. Hello, everybody. It's David Scott Peters of therestaurantexpert.com, and I'm thrilled you are making the time to be on today's call. On this webinar, I'm going to give you a little bit of preview of what I'll be teaching in March at the New York show. And it's something called the purchase allotment system. It's how to hit your target food cost each and every week. Now, I'm going to do my very best. You can't tell right now, I'm actually suffering from a little bit of laryngitis, so I'll be pressing a little bit if anybody can't hear. Make sure you let us know in the comments. I can turn things up a little bit, but I think I've got the mic jacked up pretty good here. With that said, let's kind of move forward. Some of you probably know who I am. I've probably seen me speak at some of the shows or been on my YouTube channel. For those of you who have not, again, my name is David Scott Peters. The company is called therestaurantexpert.com, and I will give you a little bit about my background. I grew up in my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, where I worked for the toughest manager I know. If you've ever worked for your mom, you know it sucks. I hated every minute of it. Why? Because my mother rode my sister and I twice as hard as anybody else. She said there'd be no favoritism. Now, while I hated it as a kid because she was working us so much harder, she did me a favor. Every job I had after, I elevated very quickly. Because why? I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. Now, just an FYI, payback's a bitch. She works for me now, but that's a whole nother story. With that said, I took those skill sets, worked for a company called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe in Phoenix, Arizona in the early 90s. This is when brew pubs were opening up one a week. Now, we're seeing that resurgence in brew pubs right now. Hopefully, as an industry, we realize we've got to put out great service and great food, not just great beer. So it survives this again. But the fact of the matter is, it was magic. Our first location was a cash cow, hand over fist money. I mean, it just made money like there's no tomorrow. Our second location was much like owning a boat. And if anybody on this webinar has ever owned a boat, you know what I'm talking about right now. A hole in water in which you throw money. As one made money, the other one sucked it dry. And that's where I developed what I call my restaurant operational smart systems. Restaurant systems that are simple, measurable, applicable, repeatable, trainable. And the key with any system, it has to be simple, or how the hell do you get somebody to use it? It's got to be trainable, or how the hell do you get somebody to use it? Now, as I developed those systems, it was time for me to move on, and I went to work for a franchisor called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain in Arizona as a franchisor. I went in as the operations manager. We were director of operations. We were opening 8 stores. We're going gangbusters. Guys bought the company, wanted to take it public. It was crazy. In about just over a year, they damn near bankrupted the company. As upper management took off, I decided I was going to leave, and I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, management, human resources, wines, and spirits. So my chefy types on this webinar, don't talk to me about food quality. I have zero knife skills. I suck. I do not belong in a kitchen. But with that said, I do want to let you know that I can run any of your kitchens with the right systems in place. I can order based on par levels and budgets. I can schedule based off of staffing guides. I can open and close every station off a checklist. See, I can manage, I can run your kitchen. What I can't do is teach knife skills. So do understand that That's a part of the systems journey, is putting systems in place to allow you to impose your will. Doesn't matter where your skill sets are, because there's a system, a process away. Now, as I was teaching at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, the minority shareholders who took over Famous Sam's kept asking me to come back. I kept saying no, no, no. It was about 1 month before my first child was born. I said, okay. And I walked into a disaster. It should have been bankrupt. Yet I was given the goal to turn the company around and sell it in 5 years. I missed that goal by 3 months. See, I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes a chain successful, and it's my job to give you the same systems and tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's what? Make money. Now, today, what are we going to focus on? This is all about making sure you can order on budget. Now, I'm going to go over what pays your bills. I'm going to go over how we can give up ordering without giving up our checkbook, because many of us can never leave our restaurants. Whether you're the chef, whether you're the owner, the general manager, you can't leave, go on vacation, do anything without placing the order yourself, and often do it on your own. I've had people sit in my seminars and workshops, and I'm wondering what they're doing, and later I find out, well, I got to place my order because they traveled. They're the only ones that can do it. Well, that's not a system. That's reliant on a person, makes you a prisoner to your business. How it can easily stay on target. How 2 systems, clipboard systems, something called a key item important waste sheet, along with this purchase allotment system I'm about to teach you, how it can reduce your food costs, guaranteed, drop your food costs 2 to 3 points. That's with no inventories, no recipe costing cards, no other fixing the kitchen. Same bad mistakes you make in the kitchen every single day. So by the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you the tools to be successful in reducing your food costs 2 to 3 points. Now, who doesn't want that, right? So here we go. Let's talk about how do we order on target in the first place. Again, this system is called the purchase allotment system. It allows us to give our chef and our bar manager how much money he or she can spend on their next order to stay within budget, whether it be food, bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, merchandise, doesn't matter. In this case, we're going to focus on food on this webinar. Now, there are a couple questions I want to ask you first. Number one, restaurant owners, what pays your bills, cash or profits? Think about it. Does cash or profits pay your bills? Anybody would say profits, I'd say no. Profits are paying taxes. That's what the government says you have earned and what you owe money on. Well, there's accrual accounting. So we could have expenses that we don't pay bills on. We're not cash accounting. So it means you're going to have these false expenses, if you will, and it really has nothing to do with your bank balance. Translation. There are times where you could look like you made money, but because you bought way too much product, because you bought a piece of equipment that is being amortized, or depreciated, I should say, because you paid for your first 2 months upfront for insurance, which has been amortized. You may show a profit for that month based on GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, but you have no money in the bank. So the true answer is cash. Cash is what pays your bills. Think about it this way. Last time I checked, I can't go to the power company with a case of steaks and go, thud, we're even, right? What do they want? They want greenbacks. The second thing I want you to think about is, worst manager I ever worked for in my life, hated little Napoleon son of a, I didn't like him very much. Let's just put it that way. And you can learn something from everybody. That's what this taught me. He walked me into a walk-in cooler and said, David, what do you see? I'm like Monty Python, right? What? The kittens? No, what do you see? I said food. And the real answer is money. And restaurant owners, whose money? Your money. And the reason why we don't want to have too much money on our shelves is several. One, if we have too much food on the shelves, it's at risk to be stolen, wasted, spoiled, all costing you money. Because no matter whether the cost of goods sold calculation is beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use. Use is what leaves the shelves by dollar value. Well, if I use more product, use divided by sales gives me food cost. I use more product and I don't have any more sales come in, my food cost goes up. So what happens here is that if I have theft, waste, spoilage, use more product than I was supposed to based on my recipe cost cards, for whatever reason, my food cost goes up. The other is this. Don't you want money in your bank account to either pay yourself or pay your bills? If it is sitting on the shelves at risk, you can't pay your bills with it. So this one system, this purchase allotment system, is going to take care of that for you. It's going to put you in a power of position. So here's some of the benefits we're going to go through today. And that is, you're going to be able to order on budget. We're going to talk about where these numbers come from. So if you're shooting for a target 30% food cost, we're going to keep you on that based on raw food cost, meaning the purchases divided by sales, which is not typically how we do food cost. However, for this example, for this system, we are going to rely on raw food cost, but I'm going to show you how it's going to work because we put it within parameters. It makes sure it keeps your money off the shelves and in your bank account, or better, at your back pocket. And more importantly, this is the biggest one, is how do we give up ordering without giving up control? See, let me ask you a question, restaurant owners. What is the fastest, easiest way to fix any problem in your restaurant? The fastest, easiest way to fix any problem in your restaurant. Ticket times are too slow. You're out of shot glasses. You need some iced tea spoons. You need lots of food in the kitchen. You have a really big order. What do? You write a check, right? You add another cook. You add another server. You add another cashier, driver, doesn't matter what it is. You buy more shot glasses. You buy more iced tea spoons. You look at the order that came in that you're signing for and have to write a check for and go, holy cow, why is this order so big? You even approach your chef, go, why is this so big? And they go, we need the food. So you write the check begrudgingly, pissed off. You go, this is just out of control. Did anybody stop to see if there was any theft, waste, spoilage? Anything that they could do to correct the problem? No. They continue to do the same dumbass things they've been doing all year long. So guess what happens the next order and the next order and the next order? You get just hit, like just in the face going, why is this so bad? So let's talk about where these things come from. First of all, it starts with a budget. Now, it's a nasty word. And remember, that's a part of what this webinar is going to preview. We're going to be talking about budgets. Now, I'm going to tell you this. The two most important things any restaurant should have are budgets and recipe costing cards. The two most important systems any restaurant should have are budgets and recipe costing cards. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think the two systems are most restaurants never have? Budgets and recipe costing cards. Why? Because they're so hard. Boo frickin' who? You got to be kidding me. You're in the toughest business I know, right? You're in a difficult industry. You can't sit there and go, there's no easy path. You got a choice. You either sell, close, or you make it work. And if you truly want to make it work, you need to have a budget, which is a proactive management tool where we set the goals for your business. Where should your prime cost be? Total cost of goods sold plus total labor cost, including taxes, benefits, insurance. Are we shooting for an industry standard of 65%? Or are we working with the restaurantexpert.com and the systems we preach and we're shooting for a 55% prime cost or under? That means if you do $1 million a year in business and you're hitting 65% right now, I'm telling you there's 10 points on the table or $100,000 in bottom line profitability if you take the time to learn how and actually implement the systems to actually put in a plan for success. Well, what's important about this is when that budget comes out and we talk about prime cost, for those of you who are going to see me in New York, well, guess what? Your minimum wage is on its way up to $15 minimum wage. If you're in California, you have the same thing. If you're in Florida, not quite, right? We've got a modified minimum wage that ain't that high. And so what that means is if I'm in New York City, I may have to bring my food cost down to overcome a $15 minimum wage. If I'm in Los Angeles, I have to bring my food cost down to because I have a higher minimum wage. Whereas in Florida, I may be able to run a higher food cost because my labor cost isn't so high. See, I don't care how you get to the 55 points. We're going to use it. We're going to set your goals based on your restaurant, your style of service, your price point, your quality of product, your decor, your neighborhood, where you are. See, we can't use national averages because if I did so, national average for food costs for the NRA would say is 34% for a full service restaurant. Well, what if you're a steakhouse and you're based on your menu, you should be running about a 38% food cost and you're yelling at your chef, give me 34. What's he or she got to do? Cheat the guest, buy shitty product, put smaller portions on the plate, and just really make your restaurant horrible. Might as well close because it's a wrong number, but they want to keep their job and you're grabbing the wrong number. What if you were a pizza pasta place and your food cost should be running 22% and you actually hit 34 and you're patting the chef on the back? Great job. When he or she's losing you thousands upon thousands of dollars every single month. That doesn't make any sense. So with a budget, we set up your targets based off your business, based on your core values. And that's really, really important because once we have that budget and we know where everything should be, then we drill down to what is the food cost for my business? Where do I need to be to make money? Next, we got to make sure we do about 15 minutes of work on daily paperwork. That means every time an invoice comes in from a broadline distributor or any distributor, we got to make sure we categorize food, paper, Janny, small wares, equipment, and so on, because I don't want that whole invoice to show up as food. I don't sell toilet paper. Does anybody sell toilet paper? That is not cost of the goods sold, right? You don't sell teaspoons. You don't sell blenders. So what we want to do is make sure that only the food portion is being utilized when we calculate our food cost, but more importantly for today's spreadsheet that I'm going to show you, the purchase allotment system, your budgeting system. Last but not least, we've got to make sure that we started with our budget, was our forecasted sales to guess what we should bring in. That we started with our budget to know what our target cost of goods sold was, but we've got to follow it up by putting our end of day report in, our DSR, daily sales report. Now, you should be doing that every night anyway to see if your cash balances, but it breaks out what was your gross food sales, bottled beer, draft beer, wine sales, and so on. Well, I need that as well. So that's 15 minutes of work you should be doing anyway to get the benefit of the system I'm teaching you. Next is I want you to make a couple of assumptions. One, I want you to think about when we use a system that your COD, cash on delivery. I don't care that you've got lots of money in your bank account and you're willing to go in 60-day terms. I wouldn't, because I'll tell you right now, as a small business, as a restaurateur, if I don't have money, I can't buy it. And I go find a problem. If I'm on terms, I can keep buying food. And the next thing you know, I go out of season, my sales drop, and I've got all these bills that are stacked up high, and when sales were higher, and I've got no cash flow to handle them. Now, but if you've got the cash to handle it, that's fine. But think COD, get yourself in the same situation. But what I want you to do is when we think about this is that our inventories are going to move up and down. When we talk about the purchase allotment system, they go up and down from a target level. Let's say your average inventory was $3,000 and you're going to forecast $1,000 in sales tomorrow, and you're supposed to be running a 30% food cost from your budget. Well, that means tomorrow, if I do $1,000 in food sales and I use this raw food cost number, 30% target, 30% times $1,000 says I should use $300 in product. To make it very simple, if I were to place an order the next day only for what left the shelves, how much money could I spend? $300. Now, what's going to be beautiful about this is when I show you the spreadsheet, it will fix itself every single day. But let's say $2,000 left the shelves. I'm placing an order, and I need to get myself not to tomorrow, but to the next delivery day. And based on the number of days that are going by and my target food cost, my target sales or my forecasted sales, I'm going to use another $3,000. Well, I'm going to replace the $2,000 left the shelves. I'm going to order more, the $3,000 more, take inventory up, that by the time I place an order again, that next order day, I still have my average inventory, or in this case, maybe 3 days worth of food on my shelves. Meaning I'll never get you down to where you cannot operate your business, that we've taken such control over the cash that we're 86ing items. Well, that doesn't do you any good. We're certainly not going to overorder, because what you think about this? Why do I have a budget? Why do I have a target cost of goods sold? Why do I care about this? Well, if I bring in too much food, it's at risk to be stolen, wasted, spoiled. Remember, we talked about that. Well, that costs you money. If I don't bring in enough food, I 86 items, I piss off guests, I lose opportunity, I lose repeat business, I lose money. So this system is going to help you keep your business in a position where you are holding onto your cash as necessary, utilizing it the way you want to, but hopefully never putting your guests in a situation where they can't have what you have. Now, don't get me wrong. There's always the proverbial bus that pulls up, right? The actual bus that pulls up with athletes, and you go, holy crap. Now, let me share with you. I'm going to go out of this PowerPoint and into a spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet is what I'm going to be giving to you at the end of this webinar. I'm going to tell you how we get it in just a moment once I teach it. Now, this is called the purchase allotment system. Now, I'm going to minimize this to show you that without using, say, our cloud-based software, the Smart Systems Pro, where this is all automatic, I'm giving you the way that I learned it, I taught it, and we shared with our members before we had cloud-based software. And I'm going to give this to you. So there's no bait and switch. You are going to have this spreadsheet, but you got to stick around for the webinar. Now, what you're going to notice is you probably can't see it. It's really tiny on your screen. This is food, liquor, bottle beer, draft beer, wine as the allotment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this back so that we can only have the food system, the food purchases, and what have you. Let me here make the font larger. All right, so we should be, oops, there we go. So from column A to column J, that is food only. So hopefully that is large enough that everybody can see. If it is difficult for you to see the font, meaning it's too small, make sure your GoToWebinar panel is at 100%, it fits your screen. And if not, you can let Amy know in the question box. Let her know that, hey, David, could you make the font a little bit larger, and she can communicate that with me. But otherwise, I think this is pretty good. I can see it on a small screen I'm looking at. Okay, so let's talk about where these numbers come from. All right, this is a spreadsheet I'm going to provide you. Well, in column A, we're going to put in all of our forecasted sales. You've got to have a sales forecast. We talked about it, whether you order too much, too little. It has everything to do with scheduling on budget. Bring in too many people, tick, 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 you owe. Bring in few people, and you have long ticket times, terrible service, and you lose opportunity. So forecasting is extremely important. And I would tell you, you need to have a system for it. I can share that with you at some point in time. I've got videos on my YouTube channel help you with that, or you can give me a call. But you've got to have a best guess, okay? Now, if we look at column F, row 1, so this cell that I'm in here, it says mix 80%. So what's important about this is we're going to get the sales mix from your point of sale system or your nightly numbers if you've got a spreadsheet or using software. And in this case, it says that 80% of all sales that come in are food. So when I highlight row 10, so Monday, 9/7, we're expecting to do $6,000, remember column A, $6,832. But if I come to column E, it's 80% of that $6,800. See, when Chef places his or her order, they don't get $6,800 to order against. They get 80% of that. 80 cents on every dollar that comes in is food, right? So hopefully that all makes sense. So your sales mix translates into what the forecasted sales are just for food themselves. Now in column H, row 1, I'm going to highlight target 30%. Well, that is my target food cost. Where'd that come from? Well, that's the budget, and that's where we're going to spend so much of our time in the 3-hour program that I'll be doing in March at the New York show. Now, 30% is my target cost of goods sold. All right, so our food cost. That means for every dollar that comes in, I'm going to use 30 cents. So if I go back to this line or row 10, and we're expecting to do $5,400 in food sales, well, 30%, 30 cents on every dollar, multiply it out, says column G, same number here. Let me highlight row 10 so you can see, is $1,639. That's what I think I'm going to use. Does that make sense? So based on raw food cost, if I operated my kitchen, didn't have any extra waste or theft or anything else like that, and I hit my actual food cost, then I should be using 30 cents on every dollar or $1,639. Now I want to show you something the day before. On the 9th, we forecasted to do $6,500 in sales, but we actually did $6,400. What that means instead of where I was forecasted to use $1,954, I only used $1,923. Watch this. I'm going to type in $1,000. Watch that 1,923. It goes down to 300. See, what happens is when you type in your actual food or your actual food sales in column F, it overrides the calculation and says, hey, you didn't sell so much. You didn't use so much. In fact, you only used $300 instead of $1,900. So what do you think how that's going to affect your next order? It's going to say, hey, chef, don't order so much. You still have food on the shelf. Now look what happens. I'm going to reverse this back to the $1,900, right? $6,400 and $1,900 in food use was estimated. What if I did $10,000? Not 1,000, but 10,000. Well, look here. Now the food use is not $1,900, it's $3,000. So what did it just tell chef? Hey, chef, on your next order, you had your ass handed to you over the weekend. You've got to order more product. Your shelves are barren. That's the beautiful part about this system. You're going to guess what your sales are, but we're not always the best guessers. Our consumers have changed their buying patterns to where there's some randomness. One Thursday is $7,000, another's $3,000, another's $10,000. Whereas 20 years ago, we could set our watches to what Thursday was like. Things have changed as operators. Now, we can get pretty close, but bottom line is, it doesn't matter how close I am because the system corrects itself every single day by doing my daily paperwork, my DSR. Now, we've got some more here to look at. Column H, this is actually spent. So I've highlighted the top few numbers at the top here. That's the food portion only for my invoices. Remember in the last slide, I said you've got to take your invoices and paid outs and separate what the food portion is of each of those. This is how the food dollars were spent. And I don't care whether you paid for it or not. Look, if you sign for the invoice, it's an expense today. It's called accrual accounting, earn OUs. Doesn't matter whether you paid for that product. The day it shows up in your restaurant, it's an expense that day. One is a cash flow issue. One is a profit and loss issue. In this case, we're going to pretend we paid for it. Even if we didn't, doesn't matter. Okay. Now, here's kind of the deal. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this raw food cost. All it is a running total. So it's 4 days purchases divided by 4 days sales gives me a 34% food cost. And we just keep going down. And that's what it does. It'll fix itself. What I want to pay attention to is column J, and that's your estimated order, okay? This is where we get the number. If we do our daily paperwork on a daily basis, we update all this information, then anytime a chef or bar manager wants to go place their order, they simply go into the spreadsheet, pick the day they're ordering for, and it's going to tell them how much money. So for instance, let's say you are a typical restaurant that uses a broadline distributor, a Sysco, US Foods, Benny Keith's, Shamrock, FSA. Don't care who you use, but you're using a broadline distributor and they deliver to you approximately 2 days a week. I say approximately, we have shortages we get from other people, but really, if you want to make this work in most restaurants, you want to get savings from them. They want to make sure they maximize their drops. So they're going to push for 2 drops a week. Okay. So in this restaurant, if you'll notice, if I highlight the row 4, that Tuesday on the invoices, if you will, they came in on that Tuesday, $3,400. Then if I look at my Friday, they come in. That means it's a Monday order day for Tuesday delivery, a Thursday order day for a Friday delivery. Hopefully that all makes sense. Again, if anybody has questions, make sure you type in the question box. Amy will relay them to me whether during this or towards the end. Now, here we go. Today is Monday. So we're in the middle of Monday. In this example, today is Monday. And we are going to count our product on the shelves to create an order and generate that order our product to come in on Tuesday. Now, here's the deal. Since I'm picking a typical restaurant that would get 2 broadline distributor deliveries a week, that means if I'm ordering for Monday for a Tuesday delivery, I'm actually going to go to my next order day, Thursday, actually delivery day, Friday. So I'm ordering to get myself to my second delivery day, not tomorrow, but the next delivery day. Now, in doing so, you'll notice it's line 14. I'm going to replace what left the shelves, right? If you look at these the first 5 days, right, 6 days have actually happened. How do I know? I typed in what my actual food sales were in column F. I've got to get it all the way to my next delivery day, which is row 14. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Excel very much. I'm kind of a spreadsheet geek, but if you highlight all these cells in the bottom right-hand corner, you probably can't see it. I just put my mouse in the bottom right-hand corner, a little window popped up. Above it, it says $23,115. It's like teeny, teeny, tiny. I can see it. You probably can't. But just know that anytime you highlight cells, it automatically sums it for you in this bottom right-hand side. So what that says is, based on what actually left the shelves and what is going to leave the shelves, I have a potential of $23,115 in product that needs to be replaced. Now, I have already spent, if you'll notice, I highlight the days that have actually happened, the deliveries that actually showed up, and it's only the food portion from those deliveries. I actually spent $9,587. Now, when I come back down here to that second delivery day, and I go to the estimated order, column J, notice here where my mouse is. I'm going to highlight so we see a few of the cells here. You'll see column J, $13,528. Well, that is all of my food that left the shelves and that's going to leave the shelves, minus what I've already spent. See, it's going to fix itself every single day. That $13,000. Let me show you what happens here. What if I changed each one of these days to $10,000? So I'm going to copy, paste it down. So understanding what I've already spent, and I come back to this Friday, notice that my purchases in column J, if you can see where my mouse is, column J is now $18,000 because sales were so much higher than forecasted. I used much more. My next order is higher. So let me reverse all those out and one more. There we go. I go back to the 14th and see it's back down to 13,000. I'm going to go one step further. I just want to grossly exaggerate this and say, what if we had a snowstorm and each of these days was $1,000? We could only open for lunch. It was horrible. We wanted to help people out, do the best we can. Notice my order. I would have ordered way too much product on the shelves that when I get to that Friday order, I only need to spend $2,000. Why? Because the system says there's still food on the shelves. It's like magic, man. It is unbelievable. And none of this requires recipe cost cards. None of this requires fixing my kitchen. None of this requires inventory. Now, it is much more powerful when the other systems are used. But in this case, if I'm a chef, I come in and again, to reiterate for those of you who might be joining in late, today is Monday for a Tuesday order, and it's got to get me to my my Friday delivery, my next order, my delivery day. Now, why do I pick the delivery day? What I don't want is if the broadline distributor truck shows up late, that I'm not just scrambling. We're going to make sure you have enough food to make it that if that truck shows up late, you can still deliver on your lunch. Okay. Again, leaving 3, maybe even 4 days worth of food on the shelves at your lowest point. Now, if we all agree, we looked at this, I'm going to highlight this in a different color so I can move away from it. Let's say I've just highlighted this this delivery day of $13,528. Let me show you how powerful this is. This is assuming sales forecast has been put into your system once a month, right? For the next month. It makes sure that your end-of-day report has been put in, your DSR, and we know what our actual sales were. We know our sales mix, our target cost goods sold, and every invoice that comes in, we put what the food is only. Assuming 15 minutes of work a day has been done, we simply come in and say, I've got to get this. Next order gets me to my next delivery day, and it happens to be the estimated order of $13,528. So what you're going to do as an owner is you're going to tell your chef, hey, chef, you can spend up to $500 more than this number. Maybe you want $800. Maybe you want $1,000. My pain threshold is $500. Hey, chef, you can spend up to $500 more than this number, or one penny more. You got to find me and ask for permission. If you can spend up to $500 more, don't ask for permission. don't want to break up that case, want to buy a specialty prosciutto, don't care what it is. You need to go over budget by $500, don't come see me. $500 and 1 penny. 1 penny over $500, you must ask me for permission. Owners, who is the only person allowed to go over budget in your business? You, right? It's your business. So how is it that we can give up ordering without giving up control? This system. So as long as all the daily paperwork done, they've using the other system for ordering and par levels and all this wonderful stuff. The fact of the matter is, when they know how much money they're spending, and if it's, let's in this case, $15,000. I'm the chef, $15,000. Well, I know my budget is $13,500. That's much more than 1 penny over $500, right? So I've got to ask you for permission. I cannot actually place the order. I must ask you for permission. So here's what I want to have happen if I worked for you. So imagine I walk up to you and I say, hey, owner, or in some restaurants, the GM has budget responsibility. Hey, owner, I need to spend $15,000 on my next order. May I place the order? Because why? That's what we put into my process, that you've got to ask for permission. So I say, may I place the order? What is the first question you're going to ask me? Why? The budget says $13,500. You need $15,000. What? Why? Well, see, if your management team worked for me, here's what I want to hear from them. Okay? Well, owner, I'm really glad you asked me that question. We had a reach and cooler go down this week. We lost about $500 in product. I've since called the refrigeration repair company, got it fixed, and I put us on a quarterly maintenance agreement just in case so we don't lose the product again. But just in case, again, I implemented a time temp checklist. We're checking the temperatures every 2 hours. And if we see the cooler start going down, getting into the danger zone, we can move the product and not lose it. Now, I did look on the key item report. Doesn't look like we have theft, but I did notice on the waste sheet, Jose's been burning steaks. So I've repositioned Jose. He's going through training again before he hits the line independently. Now, unfortunately, it's about $350 I can't account for. I'm guessing it's portion controls, so I've implemented these 3 portion controls on the line. May I place the order? Oh, tell me right now, you are, oh my God, your jaw is just dragging on the ground. You're like, who are you? Where did you come from? So if there's any chefs or bar managers or GMs on this call right now, that's what I want to hear from you if you worked for me. See, what happened here is you found out how much money you could spend on an order. You needed to order more than it was required. But before you came and asked the owner for permission to order more product, you went and found the problem. When? Today. You fixed the problem. When? Today. Instead of waiting 15 days in the next period when the accountant blesses you with their numbers, and that's lucky, most of you are 30, 60, 90 days later, and we say, hey, chef, why is your food cost high? And chef goes, I don't know. Well, the chef has now made the same dumbass mistake for 45 days in a row, and now you want him or her to fix it. See, today, at least twice a week in most restaurants, many we're going to be looking on a daily basis when we look at for the week. If we've got somebody ordering every day, like a scratch kitchen, a high-end chef would be doing. Well, the fact of the matter is, every day I'm looking for problems, and every day I'm fixing them. I don't make the same dumbass mistake day after day after day. This is incredible. See, what it does is it makes sure that you're ordering within a what? Budget. Instead of just, hey, I can order a couple extra cases of French fries. I can order a couple extra pounds of this or that, the other, because you don't want to be shorted. Well, what pays your bills? Cash or profits, right? So guess what? You could be thrilled and go, Chef David, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for finding the problems. But the answer is no. You cannot place the order. Now, I would drop my job. Like, are you kidding me? I just did an awesome job. I told you what the problem was. I fixed the problem. I need the food. I need the food. Well, I said no. And the reason why the owner says no is what I don't know as a manager that he or she knows as the owner is that our payroll taxes just got swept from our account. We paid cash for the new bank of fryers. We're profitable, but we're cash poor. And so me as an owner, I can take control of my checkbook and say, hey, look, you can place that order, or no, you can't place that order. You need to make it 2 more days, and I'll run down and do a will call if we need to, because we need the cash to start coming in the building because it is already out the door. This is powerful. This, along with 2 clipboard systems I'm about to share with you, are going to reduce your food cost a guaranteed 2 to 3 points. Just absolutely amazing. Now let me bring us back to the PowerPoint here, and I'm going to go to the next slide. And here's what I'm going to tell you. If you would like a copy of this this spreadsheet, I'm going to ask you to give us a call, toll free at 1-877-457-6278 at extension 106, and ask for Greg Sauerback, our solutions coach. You let him know you were on the New York Show webinar on the purchase allotment system and you would like it. What we're going to ask in return is you give us 15 minutes of your time that we can learn more about your business, tell you what we do, but no strings attached. Beyond that, we will send you the spreadsheet because I want to make sure you have this. I will also be going over this as a reminder with many more systems and much more power when we talk about budgeting. Again, this is a preview for the 3-hour seminar I'll be doing at the New York Show on March 4th. Now, here are 2 clipboard systems that go along with the purchase allotment system to make sure you stay on budget. One is a key item report. It is simply a count sheet to prevent theft. You put 5, 10, 15 items on the sheet that you count on a daily basis. What we're doing is trying to prevent people from stealing these things, which means there's still something else, okay? But look at this, French fry portions. I had 5-ounce portion baggies. I had 100 when I started the shift. Somebody prepped and weighed and wrapped 60 more bags. Opening inventory plus purchases / prepped says next column total available. I could sell. I have 160 portions on the shelf. Now, at the end of the shift or end of the day, depending on how much control you need, if you've got a real problem with theft and product disappearing, we do this every shift, AM, PM. If you just want to kind of keep it in order, you may get away with doing it by day. I go to that expensive cash register called a point of sale system, run a PLU report, velocity report, item by item sales mix report. Don't care what your POS calls it. How many of the portions of French fries should I have sold? So you're going to say, this is how many hamburgers were sold. Here's how many sandwiches that had a side dish of French fries. Well, in this case, 120 portions should have left the shelves. That's what was sold. Subtract 120 from 160 available. Ideal ending inventory is 40, right? That's just square math. Well, then you take your happy little ass, walk over to the cooler, and you count. In this case, you count 32. 32 minus 40 says the overshort in the outside right side, overshort column says -8. You're missing 8. Now, here's the deal. Just so we're clear. If you're doing this shift by shift, there's 8 missing. There's only one person responsible for it, the person who's been standing there. Now we know of a problem, unless it shows up on this away sheet. I apologize that it's a little bit fuzzy on the scan here. What is a away sheet? A proactive management tool. A way sheet is a tool for keeping track of those things that we lose. In this case, line 1, chicken breast, 4.5 pounds, smelly, the employee's initials, and the cost. So on this sheet, we put anything that we lose. If we had too many sides on the line and we threw them away because they were bad at the end of the day, it goes on the weigh sheet. Somebody throws away half a case of tomatoes because they were bad, puts it on the weigh sheet. You drop a burger on the floor, on the weigh sheet. Any product that is missing for whatever reason that you didn't sell and you didn't get money for, right? Now, a lot of restaurant employees, they don't want to use this. In the bar, we call it a spill sheet, still a weigh sheet. But kitchen people don't want to use it. Why? They think it's not a gotcha. If I write this down, I'm going to lose my job. No, it's a proactive management tool. Because why? If I find out that using this, that I've been over ordering tomatoes once a week, every Tuesday order, I can reduce the par level and stop throwing them away. If I can realize why my food cost is so high because John has been burning burgers and Sally's been burning pizzas, I can reposition them, retrain them, or even fire them. And there's no chef or front of house, no chef or kitchen manager doesn't want to go to the front of house manager. You know that server you had to hire because you loved her, but she's about as bright as a crayon, right? I'm exaggerating, and it doesn't matter if female or male. But the fact of the matter is, it's a dumbass. They keep double ordering. Would you fix it? Because I have to, they don't run back here 15 minutes after going, don't make, and I can't resell this product. It's dead, right? Goes on the waste sheet. See, what it does is it lets you see where your problems are and what you need to do to fix it. So the key item report prevents theft, right? It makes sure that we don't lose product. The waste sheet identifies a problem in the kitchen and allows me to fix it today, along with the purchase allotment system. Bang! I'm going to promise you a reduction in food cost of 2 to 3 points right out of the gate, because you're finally paying attention to a budget. You are making sure product doesn't leave. You're being proactive. So what do we learn? We learned that cash pays your bills, profits don't. We talked about how you gain control of ordering, giving up ordering without giving up your checkbook, how to easily stay on budget, and how these 2 clipboard systems, along with the purchase allotment system, save you 2 to 3 points. I mean, that is powerful. Now, Amy's going to come back on here in a second, but I want to kind of remind you that the whole purpose of this was to kind of give you a preview of some of what's going to be covered at the seminar I'll be giving on Sunday, March 4th at the International Restaurant and Food Service Show of New York on Sunday, March 4th at the Javits Center. Take back your budget. Now I'm going to show you where you can register for that. I'm going to click here on this link at the top. It's going to open up their webpage. So that's, again, you should know who they are, because the food shows, they've got the Florida, California, New York show. They're the ones who invited you today. Well, we're going to come in here and we're going to see education on their homepage. And I want you to scroll down to the second one from the bottom here. It says, take back your budget, the key to profitability workshop. When I click there, you can see that it's Take Back Your Budget. It's on March 4th from 2 to 5 p.m. in room 1C04. You can see my ugly mug right there. We can register here, but I want to show you a couple things here before we move on. And that is, there's an early bird registration. If you register before February 2nd, it's only $79 plus tax. If you do so beforehand or after that, it's $99. And there's a special bonus. I'm going to be teaching you as I use my Budget Creator Pro, our online budgeting software for our members only. And I'm going to give you an installation of that as an attendee. So not only am I going to teach you the budgets, I'm going to show you exactly how to hit targets from ordering and labor costs and things like that, utilizing that budget. I'm going to give you your own installation of Budget Creator Pro software. And that is unbelievably powerful. There is no bait and switch. Otherwise, last thing I want to tell you is when you click on this register today link, make sure you understand that you actually have to register for the show first. And as you go through the pages, there will be the add-on for the seminar. Otherwise, let me come back to the PowerPoint and go to the last slide. Amy, do we have any questions out there? And this is a page for you that you can kind of remind everybody about who sponsored this and where they can find y'all. But do we have any questions? And if anybody has any questions, type it in your question box on the GoToWebinar control panel. Amy, you got to unmute yourself if you are still with me.
I am with you. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yes, I can.
All right. There you go. Well, thank you very much, David, for the presentation. The information was very valuable, and I'm sure that people in our audience felt so as well. Again, if people do have questions, you can type those in. We did have a few that came in. I wanted to just ask you to go back one more time. Let me just say that the slide that is up here now are the shows that Clarion UX does that I was talking about earlier in my opening remarks for David. And we will have this presentation up on our website. Everybody on the call, anybody who registered will get a link to the presentation so you can see this again. David has been a terrific speaker and partner of ours and has been at all of our events, the International Restaurant Show in New York and in California and Florida. So we definitely invite you to attend those events, and hopefully you'll be able to join him at the workshop on March 4th. One question did come in that did say that if they're not going to be in New York, how can they get further information on this system, and do you do the workshop in other cities?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, the restaurantexpert.com, we're a restaurant training and coaching company with an online software package called Smart Systems Pro. Budget Creator is an additional piece that we have. So number one, when you call us and you ask for Greg Sauerbach, I'll give you the number again. It's 1-877 457-6278 at extension 106. Greg can tell you, I do seminars and workshops all over the country, whether it's our own or I'm at these wonderful food shows here, and we can give you dates and things like that. We have seminars and workshops we do here at on-site as well as around the country, and so that 2019 schedule is being put together as we speak. Otherwise, to learn more about what we do and to get the spreadsheet that I'm promising you, you just give Greg a call, and literally it's a 15-minute phone call where we learn more about you, tell you what we do, and we'll see if there's a fit. If there's not a fit, guess what? You'll never get another phone call from us again, but you'll be on my email list until you say you don't want me anymore. And we put out an email newsletter on a weekly basis. I do video tips. If you go to my YouTube channel, YouTube, The Restaurant Expert, there is a video magazine once a month. It's about an hour, 15 minutes long. There is usually a YouTube live event and a YouTube tip. So there's lots of information and ways to learn more about what we do.
Great, thank you. And two questions that did come in. One is, who at the restaurant should be responsible for overseeing this process?
Well, the bottom line is this. It really depends on how the restaurant is set up. But in my case, the person who's responsible to make sure everybody remains on budget is the general manager. The person who's responsible for okaying something going over budget would be the owner or general manager, depending on, are you a restaurateur that lives in the restaurant? Well, then you're there. If you have another business and you've set up the systems to allow it to operate without you, I can still hold the general manager accountable for the chef and the bar manager as long as I put the system in place. And that's what this does. It says, hey, don't order without being on budget. Someone has to be responsible for it. So in a perfect world, if you're an independent, I'm usually looking at the owner, but a GM is just fine as long as they follow the system. You hold them accountable.
Great. And also, in the spreadsheet, when you were going through that and you were pulling up those numbers, does that give specific information as to what was ordered, or is it just the numbers themselves? Like, does it link back to the order?
It's just the gross numbers. And this is where I said on a side note, why the other systems are so important. So, for instance, in our online software called Smart Systems Pro, whether you use one of our competitors or I don't care, as long as you have a system. We have already built in there not only the budgeting system for the purchase allotment system, but there's an ordering system with automatic par levels based on your history, so that when you go counting your product based on the day, it knows what your use is going to be or has been and how much you're going to need to get through the next 4 days. And so it's going to automatically populate that. It's going to automatically populate each of your orders and give you purchase orders. And it's going to email those to your vendors, and it's going to tell you each line by line product. And then it translates into ideal versus actual product usage. Well, that's more advanced stuff. I'm telling you right now, with just the system I'm giving you, this spreadsheet, along with 2 clipboard systems, that's a 2-3 point drop in food cost guaranteed. But yes, this should, in theory, not be used alone. It needs the other systems, but it's pretty damn powerful on its own.
Yeah. Well, this is terrific information, and I'm sure our audience learned definitely how to target their everyday food costs and to be more profitable. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in New York and at our other events. And again, if anybody has any specific questions, please connect with Doug Sauerbach or with David directly. And again, we thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.